Michael, the final retirement planning mistake is probably one of the most overlooked pieces of a retirement game plan. That's not having a legacy plan. When you think about the real priorities in your life, that's stuff that really matters. It's your family, right? One of the most important things you can do for them is to make sure your estate is protected. That way you can be sure your assets will go directly to the people that you love, not to the government. Unfortunately, this is something so many people put off. They never get around to it. And in the end, all of your hard work, savings, and sacrifice is all for naught. Because if you don't take steps to protect your estate now, everything you've worked for, including your house, bank accounts, investments, and other assets, could be tied up in probate court for years. And this could cost your estate a small fortune in fees. And your estate could even be double taxed by the government.
That is daunting. But Matt, a lot of people have this notion that estate planning is only for the wealthy. Is that true?
Michael, it's actually not true. A lot of people assume estate planning is just for the wealthy. But even if you've amassed a small amount of wealth, it's critical you have a plan in place. An estate plan will help control the distribution of your assets to the right people, and it will also protect your privacy. Plus, it can include guidance for end-of-life medical intervention, so you get the final say in whatever happens to you. Just be sure you're regularly updating your estate plan as laws and life changes happen. This is so important. You really have to ask yourself, am I going to leave a legacy to the people I love and care about, or am I going to leave a mess?
And nobody wants to do that.
Why would we want to leave a mess?
Indeed. So Matt, today you've talked about taxes, generating income. We've talked about health care, investment risk, legacy planning. But how many people have made a plan for all of these things?
That's a fantastic question. Most of the families we meet with every year just have a stack of investment statements. But that's just a portfolio, right? Not a retirement game plan. They're missing all of the critical things we just talked about. So it's important to note that everything is connected. For example, you can't talk about an IRA and 401k withdrawal without talking about Social Security. And you can't talk about Social Security without talking about the T word, taxes. You can also include investment income in this equation. Because when we're talking about retirement income, we're also talking about taxes, and it keeps going. So every move you make could have a domino effect on other pieces of your retirement game plan. But when you have a comprehensive financial game plan, a plan that tackles all of the things we've addressed here today, your money could go a lot further in retirement. So let's look at the first piece of the puzzle, which is having an investment plan. In an investment plan, you need to manage risk, right? You need to address updating and rebalancing your portfolio and asset allocation. How much do I have in stocks, bonds, annuities, cash, that kind of thing? What should that balance be? And how does all of that work together? The second piece of the puzzle is having a plan to make sure your money works for you to generate income in retirement. When you retire, your paycheck stops. So how do we get that money to keep coming in? What are your expenses? How do you claim Social Security? When do you take a pension? Or should you take a lump sum instead? How do you pull money out of your IRA and 401k accounts versus your after-tax accounts? Which accounts do you draw from first? So there's a lot that needs to be considered here. The third piece of the puzzle is tax planning. And this one is so critical. Here we're looking at all of your different sources of income in retirement and how we could reduce these taxes so more money will stay in your pocket. Because it's not how much we make, it's how much we keep, right? So we're looking at all kinds of tax reduction strategies, potential Roth and tax-free conversions, what we could do to mitigate higher taxes down the road. Which accounts do you pull from first in your portfolio? Again, all to reduce what could be your biggest expense in retirement. And our team can help by creating this plan for you. The fourth piece of the puzzle is having a plan to address the skyrocketing cost of healthcare. We talked about healthcare earlier, but you could be looking at spending well over $600,000 on healthcare costs throughout your retirement. So how do you plan to pay for that? When do you go on Medicare? What are the most affordable long-term care options? Or do you self-care? And the fifth and final piece of the puzzle is estate planning. The last thing you want to do is to give it all to the government, that hard-earned savings that you sacrifice for. What are the steps you can take now to protect the people that you love? How do you make sure that everything happens according to your wishes? Given all of the economic challenges we've seen over the past couple of years, if you hope to retire successfully today, saving and investing alone will not be enough. You need a financial, comprehensive game plan that covers all of these things we've talked about, because this is how you could make your money go a lot further in retirement.
Matt, all of this makes so much sense. Is there any parting advice that you want to leave our viewers with today?
Absolutely, Michael. If you hope to retire in the next 5 years, what's your plan to reduce your taxes? How and when will you withdraw money from your IRA or 401k? How will you pay for the skyrocketing cost of healthcare? These are just some of the critical questions you need to answer before you can even begin to think about retiring.